Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Oh my God, it's the next to last Mad Men of all time.
So bad.
Brett Ehrlich, Alonzo Duralde, the Milk and Honey route. As a friend of mine on Facebook said, thanks for the very special Mother's Day episode, Mad Men.
Yeah, no shit.
Jeez.
That's amazing. They ruined Mother's Day, and I hate because I don't know if people in the control room or whoever hasn't seen it, but do we have a clip? I forgot. Do we? So yeah, we should watch that first.
Let's watch the clip.
Dear Sally, I know that you're frightened, and there are many decisions I can't prepare you for. But you must immediately tell the hospital and the funeral director that I'm to be interred intact in the family plot in West Laurel. Uncle William has the details from Grandpa Jean's burial. I've also enclosed a portrait from the 1968 Republican Winter Gala. The blue chiffon I wore is my very favorite. I hung it in a gold garment bag in the hall closet beside the mink. Please bring them the lipstick from my handbag and remind them how I like to wear my hair. Will you show them the picture? Sally, I always worried about you because you marched to the beat of your own drum. But now I know that's good. I know your life will be an adventure. I love you, Mom.
You're killing Betty.
And I hate to say, I mean, I'm an extra soft touch on this sort of thing because my mother had her original mastectomy in like 1971.
Yikes.
So, I don't know if, her oncologist told everything to my dad without addressing her directly the way Betty's does. But that's, again, that's one of those Mad Men moments. That's like the smoking pregnant woman in season 1. It's like, yeah, this is how it went down, folks. I could totally see where, she would not even be addressed in this situation. And the other doctor wouldn't even tell her directly, like, could you call your husband?
Jeez, it's insane to me. When I first, when shows come to an end, frequently someone gets cancer, someone dies. Betty, when I found out that I was like, oh my God, does she have breast cancer? She have some kind of lung cancer or something like that. Come on, why would you do this? But they completely justify it with like, this is Betty's happy ending. Strangely.
Weirdly, yeah.
This is her element, and Sally calls her right out on it. Like, you love the tragedy, like offhanded, which is exactly right.
But weirdly enough, I think it also is a moment for her to finally to have some agency. Because so much of this show has been about Don pushing her around, and then the second husband pushing her around. That cocktail party where she wasn't allowed to have opinions about Vietnam or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of her going back to school was sort of one way of her trying to kind of set her own course and be the captain of her own ship. And so weirdly, her decision not to go through the horrors of early 70s chemotherapy and radiation treatment and whatnot is like, fuck it, no, I'm in charge here. I say what happens. And my God, that line in the letter about, when people tell you it's over, believe them because it's a hard thing to say.
That's insane. But that's so Betty. It's so
Betty, but it's also with this show. Like if there's a capper to all of this, it's that,
So what do you mean? But in what context is that?
I think you could argue that McCann Erickson has basically told the SCP people that it's over.
That I get that, but like in there's still like this. Maybe like American instinct to say, no, it's not. Let's fight back.
Sure.
And there's this, that's a resignation to someone else's agency.
I don't know though. I kind of get her point. It's like, I'm not a quitter.
I read this as, I am as Betty. Mm-hmm. I finally, I get to be the center of attention. But she wasn't milking. She didn't even want to tell the kids right away. She was mad at him for going. But now she has a purpose, maybe. Like, this is her purpose, and there's something about her writing that letter out way ahead of time. Like, she's not going to die for a year or however long it is, however many months, but she's written it out. Like, it's done already.
Yeah,
and she put things in the cabinet already.
Yeah, because you got to do it when you're still lucid, you know? I mean, I'm totally down for that. That's why you have to make a living will now and not when it's too late to be coherent enough to make one. I admire that. I, for one, you know, I'm very passionate about end of life issues. I think that this country, in a lot of ways, we're really grotesque about how we handle that stuff, and how I think there's nothing invalid about saying I could have a year of shit and vomiting and baldness and all that other stuff, or this thing could just come and take me, and I am ready to let it take me. I admire her for at least, you know, at the end of a life that has been dominated by the decisions of other people, her father, her first husband, her second husband, her children, that she is stepping up and kind of, you know, owning this for herself and and being her own person about it.
Yeah, I get that, but it's like, I don't know, there was some like morbid. There's morbidity to her, morbidness, whatever that one is. But like
the word morbidity literally means, you know, like it has to do with factors about.
That's what
death and dying,
I know. But like she was it was almost like, okay, like this is a inherently dramatic situation. But like I think Sally's right. Like there's part of it that's independent, but. And largely independent, though maybe somehow tied to that. I mean, if I were writing papers, I'd be like, there's one paper to be written on taking a sense of agency in your life, and the other one to be like, you know, if I'm figuring out what this character likes best, it's like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And finally, and maybe I'm over dramatizing it or what else, but no, this is empirically the worst thing that's ever happened. I need something like this to thrive, and this is. You know, I don't know. She's just all about the drama.
But that closing shot of her climbing the stairway on the one point is it feels so like a triumph for her, and on the other hand, it's this weird metaphor of like, bye.
Yeah, but like the other, I mean, did she fall because it was hard, or did she stumble, break her rib, and then get told she was sick, and then the next time she has to climb those stairs, she's like, let me take a minute.
I think that she got winded the first time and lost her step, and I think the X-ray revealed what was going on, but I think the rib was probably more fragile than it would have been because of the cancer.
Right.
Because they said it had metastasized at this point, so it's not just in her lung anymore; it's now spreading, and once the spreading starts, it doesn't stop.
But I think there's something about it that says that this whole sense of agency thing isn't the whole picture. But I get it. But yeah, in some weird twisted way, for Betty, this is a happy ending.
She's a complicated character, as all of these characters are. And you're right, there's a lot of different emotions going on. But I think ultimately, yeah, this is a win for her in that she's owning it and being in charge and not being cowed by the other people in her life into doing what they want her to do versus what she wants to do.
Yeah.
Also in this episode, it's weird how, you know, after last week with, you know, Joan and Peggy and all that stuff, I mean, we're really just down to like 3 characters this week. Betty, Don, and Pete, and that's it.
Yeah.
And for a next to last episode, that's kind of like, wow, okay, we're really focusing in now.
Well, I mean, we got to focus on Don. I think it's great that we'll be focusing on Don. But so let's talk about Pete.
Sure.
Before we get to Don.
I kind of called this one. I thought I saw the two of them getting back together not out of a crazy, overwhelming romantic passion, but out of a certain level of inertia and that they operate better for the kind of lives they want to lead, the kind of upbringing they want to provide for their daughter as a unit.
Yeah.
Than they do apart.
There's this whole
Wichita is not beautiful. Sorry, Kansas. No.
There's this old money instinct that I saw when they went to go sit down with the headmaster of the place that didn't take Trudy. That like this is just like, you know, they're fighting against that essential nature of themselves, but like there is that desire that I don't think is based in some like straight up emotional love for each other.
No.
I think that I felt a lot like Trudy.
Yes.
I felt a lot like Trudy in this episode, in those scenes. When he comes back and is like, I've got this job offer. It's going to be great tomorrow. I'm going to go in there. Just because I was like, I don't want to be hurt by this. I see that the guy who brought this to you is Duck, who also is drunk and has been lying to you and the person in charge of this deal for a very long time, and benefits from the other person taking the job as well after a heightened negotiation on
It's funny, it all got so circuitous that I started thinking, what if all of this is just Duck's, like,
weird
machinations? And like, what if he leaves McCann, takes his job, and finds out the whole thing was just bullshit, you know?
But that's the dynamic of everything we've seen in this last
That's kind of what happened. That's what happened on episodes, you know, where this character like gets this amazing job offer from somebody that she used to work for, and then at the very end of it finds out, like, you know, that it was completely made up, and she goes, "But that's crazy." Oh, because the guy is crazy too, and she totally bought into his stuff. And so I was expecting a weird sort of reversal like that here, but no, I think that Duck is troublesome, but you know, in this case, I think he actually is providing Pete with this perfect plum opportunity.
It was weird to me because I heard Kansas, and isn't Don also in Kansas? I was first of all refreshed the fact that Don is calling Sally.
Right.
And you know, we were thinking like, what he's got to tell Sally at some point that he drove off in the middle of nowhere. Oh no, he's on the phone with her, and she's fine with him being on this road trip. So that's good.
And the issue now, of course, with Betty being sick is, does Don have to abandon his attempt to flee from his life to come back and be there for his kids?
Does he have to come back and be there for his 3 kids?
Yeah.
Or does he just take his 3 kids and go wherever?
I don't know. I mean, Sally's pretty old at this point. She's almost going to college. Like,
right, but then his 2 kids that are at home and need to be brought up.
Two, yeah. But I don't know.
So that's a question. But the fact I had this weird feeling of like, so there is a job offer on the table for Pete to go to Wichita, Kansas, which is where Don is, in Kansas somewhere.
I don't know. He was in Wyoming. He had been headed towards St. Paul.
Regardless, he's driving towards Kansas. Now I'm thinking, okay, here is a job offer about a company that lets you flit off to wherever you want, whenever you want.
Right.
Isn't this a better job for Don?
Well, but, you know, and if Don had been around, Duck might have gone to him.
Yeah.
You know? But actually, no, because I think a big chunk of what makes Pete so perfect for this is the whole sort of Ivy League chumminess.
Right.
You know, the whole ring clicking thing they were talking about. You know, that's why he and Dartmouth, Princeton guys, you know, can sit down together and have this sort of common language, which, you know, Don, in fact, I caught the end of last week or a couple weeks ago when Peggy is sitting down with the headhunter who tells her, no, you really need to stay at McCann. He says, look, these other agencies are all Ivy League and you don't even have a college degree.
Right.
You know, so there's that common language that goes on in that world that I think it would have always been Pete. For this kid.
I was reflecting, you know, when they, even from the beginning, when it's like, here's what happened last week, and some things that were just like the dynamic at McCann Erickson, which is another dynamic that you face, which is like, all these people, when are they presenting something fake to you? I mean, the ad agency world, the McCanns are, I mean, that guy is so good at just being like, it's in my best interest to present like you can do anything here.
Sure, or to tell you, oh, you know, we're glad you're here to kick it up a notch, even though you're telling that to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, and then you're like, isn't it better? Oh my gosh, the whole industry is based on misrepresenting things to make them seem cooler than they are.
That's true. These people lie for a living.
Yeah, it's just bubble sugar water. You made it Coca-Cola.
Exactly. That's why you don't date actors. Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But now, okay, Don.
That's a great arc.
It is amazing, and I'm trying to figure out if this road trip is sort of the return of Dick Whitman or the death of Dick Whitman.
Right.
And I'm leaning toward the latter now. I kind of feel like his whole thing at the end with the bellboy was like, do not set down on this road. Do not, you know, if you're going to reinvent yourself, don't kick it off with this shabby little crime that's gonna haunt you forever. Be a better liar, you know. And it's almost like he's kind of passing the reins in a way. Like he doesn't have to be Don Draper anymore necessarily, but he doesn't have to be Dick Whitman either. You know, he's kind of coming into his own. Into I don't know what. You know, maybe he's Was it Roger Kaplan? Is that the guy who doesn't exist in North by Northwest?
Oh, wow.
Because somebody pointed out the bus stop shot at the end was very similar to Cary Grant.
And I'm like, which part of Oxnard is that? Yeah.
No, wait, hold on. No, he's Roger Thornhill. It's something
I haven't
Kaplan.
seen that in a very long time.
But,
All I remember is this.
Exactly, yeah. But just the bus stop in the middle of nowhere, that is kind of a North by Northwest shout out.
I get that. He's so, but yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about for a second. Is it the death of Dick Whitman, or is it like the death of Don Draper? It's exactly the same issues Dick Whitman had in wanting to get away. He just can kill Don Draper now.
Sure.
He was.
Although again, unless his children are the thing that make Don Draper have to continue.
Right, because there's so many things. Like he's talking to Sally the whole time.
Yeah.
He's learning that whatever it was that Dick Whitman had that was so terrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, but then again, he fell victim to the McCann of it all, and the same way he felt like he may have, Trudy, and then all the Peggy or Joan all put their hearts out there. They entered into an agreement where someone else had control over defining them and what they could and couldn't do, and they're all dealing with the fallout of those situations. And Dawn is like, I don't get, I'm out. I'm out completely.
I'm going to put Betty on that list too.
Betty too.
Circling
back.
No,
you're right.
Betty,
you're right.
I think, has allowed her life to be dictated by the needs of other people, and she's finally putting Betty first.
Right. So, but then there are those moments where Dawn's like, "This is my daughter. I am here. She is here. We're going to go. I'm going to show her where I grew up."
Right, yeah, end of season 6.
Okay
it's been building from there. I love that conversation they had when he's putting her on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's really, she caught him with Mrs. Rosen. Like there is a healthy degree of no bullshit between the two of them now. And I think their relationship has been a fascinating evolution. And I think that, and I love how plain and direct he can be with her. Like the moon landing episode. Like you don't want to be that cynical. Don't be that person, and she's like, you're right, I don't want to be that person. But yeah, so it's funny, the whole time, once they set up the whole VFW, it's like, oh shit, someone's going to know, someone who's going to be there,
I was like, oh, dude
who served with Dick Whitman, who's going to know.
Right, because they got like affable, younger middle-aged character actor guy who everybody loves.
The guy from The Office.
The Office, that's what it is. Oh, that's who it is.
Yeah, the one who doesn't marry.
Originally, but like guy who like, is just your buddy, and it's like, oh, I know him. Anyway, like that's why he gets cast. I know that guy. Like, oh my God, was he in the first season when they were finding out about? Oh, thank God he wasn't there.
That was,
but that's another point.
But then he opens up.
Oh man, and they're like, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I know. Clearly, I think that it's funny. This country has so sentimentalized World War II in a way that we don't sentimentalize Korea or Vietnam or any other conflict. But World War II veterans saw some shit and did some shit
and each other,
and it was a generation of, I think, you so often you hear about people saying that my dad served in World War II, he never talked about it.
Yeah.
And it was a thing, they came home and like it was this sort of bright and shiny greatest generation America, and they did not want to talk about that shit. And I think that's what happened at those VFW halls. They got drunk and they told each other the stories that they would never tell their wives and children.
That's insane. That is therapy is what that is.
Totally.
That's not just drinking and having fun with dude. And that was, look at that, World War II, don't talk about it. Here's the GI Bill, take some money, start a family.
Right.
Vietnam and Korea, no, literally the Forgotten War is what we call it.
Totally, yeah.
So kind of a transition. Vietnam is like, this is stupid, to which the government's like, fine, call us stupid, good luck when you're done.
Totally,
there's the veterans, But yeah, so
and it was interesting. I was surprised actually that for 1970 that we're still in, right? That there were no Vietnam veterans there. Although maybe that's actually maybe the Vietnam vets didn't feel comfortable in that surrounding. They didn't want to like drink whiskey with the old World War II guys. They were off smoking pot somewhere.
But and then I was like, oh my God, Dick Whitman just had the discussion with people who said, it's all right.
Yeah.
And then the next scene
is them beating him up,
beating the hell out of him.
Yeah,
that's that's so sad.
Yeah,
that's another
situation
like where he's like, here I am, vulnerable. Here I am, and then we got so many scenes in early seasons where he was literally just a kid again, being like, this is too much for me. I can't handle this. This is the worst.
Yeah, there was a potential catharsis there that gets just yanked away because of this other thing. And again, because of this guy who is, going down the Dick Whitman path of lying and creating a new identity for himself. And that's why he sort of takes the reins on that. It's like, you're giving the money back. I'm going to take you out, I'll drop you at the post office. No, in fact, take my fucking car.
Yeah.
Do it right.
I love the dialogue in this show. I'm just like, don't blow it.
One more.
One more.
I cannot even wrap my head around that.
I love that last scene. The smirk, the joy. Was it you or Ben who said last week that their favorite moment in the episode was Shaw just going, just like looking out at Don getting away and just going, yeah, just that smirk. And then this smirk, this on the road, I am no one and everyone, Don at the bus stop, the world is my oyster and I don't give a shuck.
The road is out there in front of me, and I have no idea which one I'm going to take.
He's the hobo.
He is, I know, the Sears bag with all of his crap in it. Man, this show's so good. I'm going to miss it terribly when it's gone. Join us next week when we tearfully wrap this puppy up.